For most people, success and happiness go hand in hand. One feeds off of the other. But for some people, particularly those who go all out chasing success, they realize that it comes at the expense of happiness. Happiness in their work, happiness in their family lives, and indeed happiness inside themselves. They burn out and they realize they've given away all of life's good moments just to achieve success. So what they typically do is add more goals and they go chasing those, believing that these new set of goals will actually fix the happiness. But they're wrong. So what if we could go for happiness first? Maybe being happy would help us be more successful. If you've ever wondered how you can reach that level of personal happiness, this episode is for you. Ellinor, we've all seen rich, famous, successful people who, at least on the outside, have got all of the trappings of success. And yet they don't just say that they are sad. They even say that they are depressed. And then we see them turn to drink and drugs and other addictions to fill some sort of a void. And I'm sure that a lot of people who are watching this or listening to this will think, how dare they? Give me that success and I know that I will be happy. And yet we've seen it play out and clearly there's a mismatch. What would you say to those people?
Yeah, so I would say to those people that it doesn't really matter where you are. I mean, if you are a movie star or whether you are, in the mid-career or just started out of university or whatever, the problem is you start to compare yourself to who the people are at your level. And if you've always been kind of chasing this feeling of happiness and what is happiness? Well, it's different for different people. But it's typically a positive feeling, joy, fulfillment, contentment. That is kind of what I would say is the definition of happiness. And if you keep chasing that from the outside and you don't really have it on the inside, so to speak, then it's very difficult to hold on to, right? So once you reach the goal, and whether that is your college degree or your next promotion or your next movie star role, then you're happy for a short period, and then you need to start chasing the next goal. And when you then add to, what is everyone else doing? What are they doing? Oh, he's much more successful than I am, and she's making much more money than I am. This is crap.
Right.
Then you focus on the wrong things, so to speak. You don't focus on what you have achieved. You don't focus on what you already have in your life. All the good things. We all have good things. You just look on the outside and try to kind of match what others are doing.
So what I heard there was a couple of things. First of all, people may have some kind of a target and they kind of get close to it or they achieve it, but then it's not enough and they put another target in place. So they're constantly pushing things away. And also I heard the kind of the external validation piece where you're constantly comparing yourself with other people. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And you described yourself to me when we were talking before this as an insecure overachiever.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? And how did you realize that was you?
Yeah. So an insecure overachiever is someone who is typically capable and ambitious, but very insecure. So that means put that person into a tier 1 bank or a competitive, high-performing environment, and they will do anything to feel the outward success. So they will really work hard to kind of gain that promotion, make the goal, whatever it is. And then if you have people around you that are similar, that also creates a culture where that is how you work, right? And typically you identify with your work role. That's where you get most of the reward. So you kind of get into the circle. So that's what I was doing. And if you keep on doing that, I was doing that for almost 20 years, but if you keep doing it, you probably hit the wall at some point, because it's going to cost you, or you lose the relationship to your children or
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
husband or wife or whatever. So that's typically the price you pay if you keep having that kind of lifestyle. And
So,
for me, yeah, sorry.
I was just going to ask you, what are the signs? How do you know that that's where you are? Because I know what it's like myself. You can get really engrossed in work or whatever, and even the social life around work.
Mm.
But what are the signs that you should look for to say, well, hang on a second, this is not really going the way that I want it to go?
You probably feel that something is missing, and maybe you don't want to feel that feeling, but it's there and it keeps coming up. And maybe you realize that the way you act in your work role or parent role, whatever role, we have different hats, right? Is maybe not who you want to be, or the one you are really, deep down. So there is a
Right.
misalignment between who you want to be and who you act as.
Got it. And if you either don't spot those signs, or if you do spot them but do nothing,
Mm.
where does that lead you? Where could you end up?
Well, you might have an amazing career, right? If you can keep the don't hit the wall, so to speak, go down with stress. You might have a very good career, but you probably lost the people that matter to you. I mean, I work with a lot of people that don't have a relationship to their kids, for example,
Hmm.
because they haven't really been there,
Hmm.
and they typically regret that when they get older, and then it might be too late.
Yeah.
No, so it's the price you pay, right? That you may not realize until later,
Yeah.
that you put all your eggs in one basket, right? You didn't have a diversified portfolio, if you wish.
Mm. Got it. And you do hear, don't you, a lot of stories about people who are sort of on their deathbed,
Yeah,
and they say, "What's your one biggest regret?" And it's typically, almost. And I'm paraphrasing, but I worked too hard and I didn't spend enough time on the things that I really love to do.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So, what does it look like, and what does it feel like when I get it right? So, clearly, everybody does want to be successful, and success will mean different things to different people, of
Mm,
course. But everyone wants to feel that sense of fulfillment and that sense of success
yeah.
with everything that that brings. But equally, they do want to feel happy. And again, happiness means different things to different people. What does it feel like when you get that right? When you realize that, wow, I've got this balanced?
Yeah. So I would say it feels like you have ease and flow in what you do. So you take decisions based on maybe not just like what comes to mind initially, but like aligned to your values, who you want to be in that situation, what is your mission. It's like you have a bigger perspective when you make decisions. You have that kind of compass that you follow, that's internal.
Hmm.
Um, so it's much more flow and ease, and you have better relationships with the people around you, and with yourself, especially. I would say you
Hmm.
have probably a different narrative in your head,
Mm. And,
less
and
self
then,
control. Yeah.
and, and then how does that come through? So I'm going to be deliberately provocative for a second, but it almost sounds quite selfish. Yeah, I'm fine
Mm,
now. I've got the
mm,
success I want and I've got the happiness I want.
yeah.
How does that come through to other people? Can you still be as I'm not sure the word I'm looking for, but if you're the previous person where it's just all about success and you're out there and you're busting it, people around you are getting a lot more from you in that context. But if you become a bit more, you know, selfish, for want of a better word, are you still able to perform at the highest level?
I think it's the other way around. I think when you are in the previous role, you're probably much more ego driven,
Mm,
because it's more about you than other people. You're the one who want to shine. You want to feel good.
yeah.
So you could still be a good leader, but I would say you're probably a better leader, manager, whatever, for yourself and for others when you don't base the success on your insecurities, really.
Right.
So when you know yourself and your own emotions, and you can handle these emotions, then you can also look at people around you and understand them and kind of meet them at eye level.
Right.
So it's less ego. It's more, okay, what do we do here? How do I make you
Uh-huh.
shine? So I
Hmm.
would say you become a much better leader and a performer when you are more self-aware. Um, that's leadership, right? You need to know yourself in
Yeah.
order to lead others.
So that sounds like you're coming from a position of strength and security rather than, as you've described it, insecurity. Is that
Yeah,
fair?
yeah, I would say so. Mm.
Cool. And so you now work with a lot of senior leaders, CEOs, people in very demanding, high stress jobs.
Yeah.
And I guess that you see people who are suffering and struggling with with this sort of imbalance. And you also see people who are getting it right, maybe through your help. You're guiding them and leading them. What does it look like? How would you recognize that you've got someone who's like got it right? What are the outward signs that this person's just got it sorted?
I think they have a different aura, different calmness to them. Um, I mean that's how you can see it. You can feel when they speak. They're more grounded. They know themselves better. They probably know their team better. They have a different perspective on things. So it's also a language thing. How do you talk about yourself and others and the vision, the whatever you're looking to, your goals? How do you go about to achieve those goals? It's like more about the journey, so to speak, than just the goal itself.
Got it. And do you find that these people enjoy the rewards of that success, both personally? I mean, you talked about family and children and your kind of your personal social life, as well as the work life and the success and everything that they want there. Do you find that both parts of that equation are then more fulfilling, more successful for them?
Yes. Exactly, absolutely. So it shouldn't be like, not everyone should do what I did and do like something completely
Mm.
different. Not at all. It's about looking at yourself in your role and like, okay, well, something was missing here. What is that? That was what was missing. Maybe you didn't really. Maybe you weren't based on yourself, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if that's the missing part and you have that, then you just show up in a very different way.
Got it.
It doesn't mean
And
that you change your career for sure, not at all.
yeah. Yeah. And not everyone can do the flip that you did, right?
No, and you shouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was right for me. It wasn't right necessarily for everyone else.
Yeah. So I guess that the flip that you made and you put yourself into this new role
Mm.
must be extremely fulfilling for you. You must see change in people.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And if someone's listening to this or watching now and they're thinking, I recognize myself as this person that's got this internal struggle. I'm kind of successful. I know I could be more successful, but I feel like I'm okay. But I'm also pretty unhappy in my social life, or there is that kind of balance. Imbalance.
Mm.
Where do they even start? How do they? They maybe they've got to the point where they've recognized the symptoms and they want to make a change. They want to make some improvement. What's the first thing they should do? Where do they start?
Yeah, so they can work with me uh,
Okay, of course.
to kind of go through it. But otherwise, I would say it's if they have those signs or they actually recognize this, then they are listening to themselves, right? And this is very much about opening up your ears and your feelings to yourself, because
Mm,
typically we are like in our heads the whole time. So good ways to ground yourself. What I did and what I recommend a lot of people to do is to start meditating, for example, or just get that solitude, or when you're alone with your thoughts, and let the thoughts come up to surface. Because what happens for a lot of people is they don't want to listen to that, and then
right.
they really start working even more, or drink whatever, do different things to quiet that voice. But if you want to listen to it, then let it arise, and what are the signals? What is it telling you?
Mm,
And then you can start looking at yourself. So self-awareness, what is the narratives? What is the voice telling you in your head? What is your values that you have? What is your vision? What are the different hats you wear, and how much do you spend time and capacity on the different roles that you have in life? And But I would start with just getting some quiet time, and start to slowly listening to yourself.
So I have and this may be an incorrect picture, but just let me run with it for a second. I have this picture of someone who is extraordinarily driven,
Mm.
who will almost do anything to get success, who we know has probably been sacrificing themselves to get that success. And they seem to me like almost the last person who's going to go, whoa, yeah, let me just slow down
Yeah.
and meditate. It's almost like throwing on the handbrake. It's just the
Mhm.
opposite end. How do you, in the work that you do, how do you take someone like that? And I would imagine they've already made some kind of a mental connection to say, I need to change. But how do you stop them becoming this 250-mile-an-hour Ferrari and ask them to become a gentle push bike for just a little while?
Yeah, because we can be the Ferrari for some time. That's the thing, and of course that's why they haven't recognized until now. Maybe then. Um, so I would introduce something called pit stops,
Okay.
for the Ferrari. So you have the race, and they go round and round and round, and they go very fast. But the pit stops are there for a reason. So they need to once in a while take a break and get some recovery time. Check the
Right.
tires. Check the engine, and that's what they need to do. So they need that. You can't live your life like a sprint.
Right.
It's more
Yeah.
like a marathon.
Yeah. Okay.
So you need to take these pit stops. And what is a pit stop? Well, it could be a lot of different things. But for someone like that, for example, maybe their nervous system is always quite high up, for example. It could just be a very short, like a breathing exercise that they do every between meetings or every time, you go to the bathroom, just to kind of get the nervous system down.
Mm.
Um,
Pit stops. That's a really good analogy because I can imagine a really fast car going around a track, and you're absolutely right. They cannot keep going forever. So the idea of a pit stop is a temporary pause to refresh and fix things. What does that look like for the typical person that you're working for, and maybe somebody who's listening now? What does a pit stop look like?
mm. So a pit stop could be something as brief as a very short breathing exercise that you do maybe between meetings. You can even do it in a meeting, in between, or go to the bathroom. So you kind of put a routine onto another routine, and it's really just to get your nervous system down. So I'll show you this one, and you can try it.
Have I got to do this with you
Yes, you do.
live? All right, let's do this.
Of course.
I just hope I remember how to breathe.
Yeah. So this is also used by Navy SEALs, by the way.
Okay,
It's very powerful.
they're tough fellas.
Yeah, exactly. Macho.
Yeah.
So what you do is I'll explain it to you. So you breathe in on 4. So you basically count to 4. So you breathe in and then you hold it on 4. So like hold it in, counting to 4. Then you breathe out on 4. And then you hold it out for 4. So it's like a square. So let's try it together. So we breathe in on 4. Hold it. Out. And hold it.
I feel so relaxed. I might go for a quick
You
nap.
look like a different person now, don't you?
You just carry on your own. I'm going for a nap.
So it's a
Wow.
very, very short one. And you just do it for 30 seconds or a minute, and it will just take your nervous system down.
Okay.
That's a very short and an easy example of what a pit stop could be.
Yeah. And I guess, does it work better if you can be somewhere where maybe you can close your eyes and just shut everything off?
If you have the luxury of doing that, absolutely. But maybe you don't,
Okay.
and if you have that kind of Ferrari work style, then maybe you don't. And that
Right.
could be the next step, is to allow yourself to also do that, because it's also
Right.
about setting boundaries.
Yeah.
It's about, putting the oxygen mask on yourself before you can be there for others, right?
Yeah.
So it's investing in yourself.
So just to carry on that racing car analogy, because I think it's a good one, that pit stop, that routine on top of a routine as you've described it, I guess would refresh somebody instantly so they can go out to that next lap and, be just that bit faster, a bit better, whatever it takes. But I know that a lot of the work that you do is not about just that instant quick fix, the pit stop, but also you you take them out of the race for a bit, you work with them to help them improve their, everything about the race, as it were, or their ability to compete. What does that look like? What do you do with a customer that comes to you and says, I want to work with you?
Yeah. So we build a platform, and that platform is the groundwork for working on other things. So typically it could be, leadership, but that comes afterwards. So if you have the platform, if you have a strong platform, then everything else will be much easier.
Right.
And the platform, you could say, have three parts. So you have the fundamental parts, which is around, your core values, because the values is also steering how you behave.
Yeah.
It's like your northern star, really, or your compass on who do you want to be, and are you aligned with your values? Is the company you work for aligned with your values, or is there a clash? That could also be a reason why maybe you don't feel totally happy at work. It's because maybe there is a clash between your values and the organization's
So
values.
can I ask you a bit more about that?
Mhm.
So I think a lot of successful people maybe will accept a bit of disconnect there because,
Mhm.
maybe they're being paid such an insane amount of money that they kind
Yeah.
of go, look, it's worth it. And it's a very bold thing to say, oh, hang on, I don't like my teammates, or I don't like the company, or I don't like the values. I think I will switch, because they're immediately giving up, you know, income or whatever it happens to be,
Yeah.
to go and do something different.
Mhm.
How does someone come to terms with that and say, yeah, I need to switch. I need to get out of this environment. I need to find something that's more aligned with my values.
I mean, I think if you don't, I would look at the whole model. I would look at the whole person here, because if you get those values met in all other ways of life, or, other aspects of life, then maybe it's okay that at work it's not. But if you spend an enormous amount of time there and it really hurts you, then yes, then you need to think about, is it worth it? Because you do pay a price for it.
Got it.
So it's the cost benefit analysis. And also, what can you change there? Maybe
Okay.
you can influence that, because if you are now, assuming you're fairly senior, right? So you have an impact. So maybe I want to run my department or my team more according to these values, because look at the performance, look at the outcome. It's great.
Got
It's
it.
better. So maybe you can have an influence, right? In what you can. But if it's out of line, then probably you should do something about it.
Got it. Okay. So,
But as I said, yeah, sorry. No, but
carry on.
I think it's important to look at the other parts of life as well, right? So you have work, which is critical, of course.
Yeah.
Then you also have like your family, and then you have other things like hobbies, friends. So it's like a triangle.
Got it.
And if one thing is not working, well, maybe look at the other two. What do you get there? What do you gain there? And maybe
Got it.
that's okay for some time until you can fix that one, or maybe it's okay for a long time. Again, if money is important to you and you make a lot of money there, maybe that's fine for X number of years. So again, look at the bigger picture.
Okay. Let's get super practical now, because as we know, um, one of the principles of this podcast is that every guest comes along with something they can leave behind, that the audience can download and use immediately to make
Mm.
some impact on their work or their career or their life. And I know that you've brought along with you a questionnaire that people can go through. It asks some fundamental questions about where they are and what they want. Maybe we can just walk through that a little bit. And I know people can download it later to go through it in more detail, but what are the big high level steps? What does somebody do?
Mhm. So I mentioned this platform before, and basically I have given you the three areas of the platform.
Yep.
So the first one is the fundamentals, then we
Yep.
have the perspective, as I call it, and then we have the relationships. So the first one around the fundamentals is, who are you at your core? So
Yep.
it's questions around your values and your mission, and some kind of reflection exercises around that. It's also around energy, and I think
Mhm.
that's very important. What gives you energy, what drains your energy, and once we know that, we can plan accordingly, right? So some people drains your energy, and you can't get them out of your life, and maybe they're
Mm.
important stakeholders at work, etc. But
Hmm.
then at least you can plan for that. Okay, so now I'm going to meet Eric. That's going to be a
Every
drainer.
Eric now who's watching and listening to this is thinking, "Oh, it's me."
Nothing personal. Then you can make sure you do something afterwards to give you energy. So it's like it's planning where you are in that cycle.
Okay, so
So
you're
that
not avoiding Eric. You're just approaching Eric in a different way, and maybe
yeah,
then adding something else to you afterwards.
exactly. And of course, if you can avoid him,
Hmm.
even better. But
Hmm.
you probably can't. I mean, we all
Mm.
have people and situations that will drain us. I mean, we can't like live in our little bubble.
Yeah,
So it's more about managing your energy.
got it.
Or going, and I think a lot of people I work with is, they have a full day of meetings, and then they come
Mm.
home to their family and they're like, ugh. The
Yeah,
family gets like this little wobbly, what's left of the person, right?
yeah,
Um, which is not ideal.
yeah.
So maybe you can do something in between, just to pop yourself up a little bit so that you can actually be the person that you kind of want to be at home as well.
Mm. Yeah, that's an interesting point because sure, we often think about work and everything that means, and that's a big part of everyone's life, of course. And then we think about family, which is almost sort of what happens inside your home, your partner, your children, whatever your situation is. But then there is that third ground, which is sort of me, isn't it? The things
Hmm.
that I do for me on my own.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. So this is different things, and this can seem a bit ego, right? That you have
Mm.
been working, now you're doing something for you.
Yeah.
Um, but it's important, right? This is where you kind of tank up yourself or refill yourself, and whether that's going to the gym or doing a quick meditation just to
Hmm.
kind of ground yourself. There's different things people can do here, but it could be something fairly short, and also what we do wrong, most of us, is, oh, now I have some time to myself, well, I'm just going to listen to a podcast.
Mm.
Yeah, that's fantastic to do once in a while, but don't do that all the time,
Mm.
because you also need to not
Hmm.
have something and listen to yourself and what comes up.
Yeah. Yeah. I recognize that. It's so hard to do nothing.
Yeah,
Given a little gap, you think, how can I fill that gap? You don't
exactly,
think, enjoy the
optimizing,
gap.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mhm. Don't do that.
Unless it's Build Your Edge, and then you can listen to it all
Yeah,
of the time.
exactly.
Great. So understanding my fundamentals is the first part of the framework. It sounds to me that's quite reflective. What's the second part? What's this North Star piece about, and how do I go through that? What do I take out of that?
Yeah, well, I would say the North Star piece is actually also part of the first block, um, because that's where do you wanna go? What
Right.
is your bigger mission, or the vision you have of your life? And that is, of course, a huge question, right?
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be that we all wanna. Well, it's good to have an ambitious goal,
Hmm.
but maybe look at this from different sides, right? So it's your career goal. Okay. And then you use your values that we talked about earlier to kind of also be the forming your behavior in how to
Hmm.
achieve that goal, right? But then it's also like, who do you want to be as a parent or as a
Yeah.
partner? You
Yeah.
probably have a North Star there as well. So that's still part of the fundamentals. But the second block is around the perspective. And let's say, I mean, I'm not religious. I've never been religious, but in a way, I'm envious of people that have a kind of
Mm.
religious framework, because it gives them a perspective which is bigger than yourself. So when I started on this journey, I became more spiritual, and that also gives me a fantastic framework where I believe that I play a small part here,
Hmm.
but what's the bigger picture? And you don't have to be spiritual either to have some kind of perspective. It's
What,
more,
what what what
yeah.
do you mean by spiritual?
Mm. For me, and I think that can mean a lot of different things for different people, but for me, that means that there is something bigger than us. There is something, the universe, whatever, something that's bigger than us, and
Mm.
that wants us well, that wants us
Mm.
to learn where we're here. So we're not just here for for a few years and then we're
Hmm.
gone.
Hmm.
So I believe in something bigger, that we're here for some reason.
So is that, I mean, I guess there's a part of it while you're alive, and then there's part of it maybe when you're not here anymore. So is that about legacy? Is it about looking
Yeah,
after people?
exactly. So if you're here for 90 years, what do you want to leave behind? Who do you want to be remembered by,
Mm.
and for what? So what
Hmm.
is your legacy? Exactly.
Got it.
And I would recommend, if you want some perspective, and this can be hard, read the old masters. I mean, like Marcus Aurelius, he
Mm.
wrote meditations when he was a Roman Empire, what,
Mm.
2,000 years ago, or 2,000 years before Christ or something.
Mm.
Amazing. And, he was thinking the same things that we are thinking today in a more kind of stoic way, but it gives you a beautiful perspective.
I've never read that, but I've read so many quotes and heard
Yeah,
so many people reference that material. And I think part of me just thinks it's a bit clever, but it's very old. How can it be relevant to this crazy modern world that we live in? But presumably you're saying to go back, because I guess we're still dealing with a human and a human mind who's worked through the challenges of the day, right? So presumably there's still value in that material for us today.
that's the thing. I mean, I thought the same as you. It's like, but everything is, you recognize. It's
Mm.
just, yeah, human problems, right?
Yeah.
And as you said, the human mind.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's all about the mind, right? So we get, what, 70,000 thoughts every day, and we can't control our thoughts, but we can control what we focus on.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? So we can either see opportunities, or we can see challenges, or we can see lessons, or we have that choice.
Yeah. Because I guess, I mean, right now when we're talking, AI is everywhere. It's this sort of an existential opportunity, but also threat that's worrying a lot of people. And I guess if you go back to the Roman times, it would have been just maybe being eaten by a lion or something. There will have been a similar threat that you need to get through.
Yeah, exactly. Or different, stronger group of people coming from elsewhere, or whatever. I mean, depending on what time of the Roman Empire we're
Yeah.
talking about. But exactly, it's always been. And like, also, if you then look at Buddhism, for example, where actually the enemy is the enemy within. There's
Mm.
never an enemy outside. It comes down to the enemy within. And
Mm.
look at leaders that have had power for many, many years. You know, power is not very good for us. So different things are not good for us. So it's like, it's what we do in our minds. That's what creates our wars and our conflicts. And so if you can kind of be more aware and focus your mind, then you will have a better outlook.
Got it. So what I'm hearing there is that a lot of this a lot of this process is about bringing things inside,
Yeah.
so that you are much more self-aware, um, and you can be, I guess, more deliberate with how you're acting and what you're doing.
Yeah. It comes down to, I mean, if we talk about happiness, if you feel good inside,
Mm.
then that is happiness. Once you don't need all the outer gratification, and it doesn't mean that you become complacent, or "Oh, I don't I don't want
Hmm.
anything anymore." That's not it. But if you feel good about how you do things, and of course have a growth mindset, you still want to learn, you still want to get out there, but you just have a very different way of doing it, because you actually feel, well, I'm okay the way I do it, but of course I can, I want to be even better.
Hmm.
But you have that inner satisfaction. Then you don't need to look at what the car he bought, or
Hmm.
oh,
Hmm.
I didn't get the promotion,
Hmm.
damn.
Yeah.
So it's just a very different way of viewing the world, really. That's
Yeah.
that's the big change when you have it inside.
So I wrote a book as well, and in my book I put this idea that I think fundamentally we all want happy, and that may mean different things, but but we always put it beyond something. We think I'll be happy when
Yes.
I've got that job, when I earn that money, when I've got that partner, when I drive that car, when I've got that thing.
Yeah.
And actually, if you can change that around and go, well, actually, I think I'll just be happy. then maybe the next things come more naturally and easier. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah, it is fair. Um, so it's also taking the responsibility in how you act in that, right? So it's perspective and how you act and how you view yourself. A lot of people view themselves as victims when it comes down
Hmm.
to it. Or we become very controlling because we want to control everything. It's like, how do you act actually, and what is the consequence for people around you?
Mm.
And that
Yeah,
takes that's not so easy, right? Because we like, no, I'm definite, and victim is
yeah,
very shameful, right? To be a victim,
yes,
that's like the worst thing.
yeah,
But a lot of us are.
yep, yeah. Yeah, I recognize that. I think that when you find yourself in a bit of a tricky spot and something hasn't gone quite the way that you want it, your natural first reaction is that victim mindset. That why is that person doing that to me, or why did that situation happen to me?
Exactly.
But what I'm hearing from you is that if you can internalize things much more, you begin to realize those things are happening for you and around you, not to you.
Exactly. Yeah. So you change the narrative.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a good way to start is also then to look at, what do you have? So now if we think about what can we do now, I mean, also to have some kind of gratitude exercise. What right now do I have that I'm grateful for? And
Talk me through that a bit more because again, I've tried meditation and it's not really connected with me, if I'm really
no,
honest. And quite
mm,
often the meditation is we're going to now meditate about gratitude. But I find that the meditations themselves don't really have any words. And so you're left with your own thoughts. Well, okay, how do I express gratitude? How do I feel gratitude? What would you say to me? How should I, how should I become more gracious and more grateful for what I have?
mm. Okay, well, so if I ask you now, Jeremy, what are three things right now that you're
Mm.
grateful about?
My wife,
Your wife,
100%. Yeah. Very, very grateful. My kids.
your kids,
Um, and then, I mean, I've got a bunch of material things.
but that's fine.
I like my life actually. My life is pretty good right now, man. I'm really enjoying this process. So, I think a lot of people don't have the time or the space or the ability to do this. So I guess that would be the third thing that I'm grateful for.
Yeah. And how does that feel when you say that now? So your wife, your kids, the fact that
Mm.
you can do this, how does that feel? Just feel it.
Yeah. I think, so let me ask you this. Sometimes people will look at, you have a great partner or you have great kids or I enjoy my life or my work and almost you feel not worthy. I think
Mm,
there's a little bit that comes up. You sort of think, why me? Like, why do I deserve these things?
mm. Why should you not deserve these things?
Great question.
I mean, why shouldn't you?
Yeah. Do you find that the successful leader types that you deal with have that, or is their sort of nature, I deserve everything?
Oh, it's very different. But I think it's no, but it's what typically happens is that so they come to me when they have all of that, and then everything looks good on the outside, and then they realize, okay, it doesn't mean so much to
Mm,
me
mm,
anymore, and also what does mean something is maybe what I don't have, what I lost during that process, right? And there can be a lot of shame around that.
mm, mm,
I got divorced, and I blamed her or him,
mm,
but what was my role in that? I didn't
mm,
take any responsibility, and I was doing stupid things. There's a lot of shame, and shame is often very hard to share, right? Because it's you're a bad person. You feel like a bad
mm,
person.
mm,
And I felt the same. I mean, I was the person who left my kids super early and picked them up late.
mhm,
I mean, I've done what I think now maybe wasn't the right thing, but it is it is what it is. So you
mhm,
also have to forgive yourself. During
mm.
those circumstances where my mind was at, that's what I could do.
And
So,
I would imagine that's not that uncommon because, especially if you're commuting into a city, you
mhm,
probably need to be ready to go at 7 and then you're going to get to work at 8. and you're going to work your 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, hours.
Mhm.
Maybe you do that thing that you've mentioned, which is for me, maybe it's the gym or something. And then by the time you're back home to sort of plug in and connect back again with your family, it's 12 hours. So I
Yeah.
guess that's not that unusual. That's not the exclusive domain of super successful, overachieving high performers. It's all
No.
of us.
Yeah, exactly. And especially, I think now if we compare a little bit here to Copenhagen, which is less like that, I would say.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I came with that mindset from London. So I was like, yeah, let's beat it,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I was doing that, and not people, and a lot of people don't do that here.
Hmm.
Especially, yeah, I'm generalizing, but it's less of that here than it is. But it's the same thing in a way because it just becomes a different comparison and a different. But yeah, so exactly, it is hard to do everything, and then maybe we have to accept that, Also, we're doing this also for the kids, right? We're doing
Mm,
it for in London. You want to put them in good schools. You
true.
want to, of course, you have to work, but then when you are with the family, then make sure you're present. Then
Yeah.
make sure you don't have the phone, that you don't multitask. Then the phone is not there. Then you are present because that's what you can give the kids and your wife.
So do you have your mobile phone with you all of the time, or do you have a habit of almost locking it away?
Yeah, so when we have dinner and home time, I don't have my phone there
Mm.
because it steals your attention.
Because I read somewhere, and I know this is true, and this is my shame, but I read that children don't listen, they copy. And
Mhm.
so while I'm telling my kids to get off their devices and put the iPad down and whatever, I'm actually got my phone in my hand and I'm sort of reading something or doing something, saying,
Exactly.
get off the device. And of course they're going, well, you've got it,
Yeah,
therefore I will. It's okay.
exactly. Stop doing that. It's not what you say, it's what you do.
True, true. Yes. So we've begun to touch there on family life, and in your framework there are three pieces. One is the fundamentals, which we've talked about. Then we've got the perspective, which I think helps you become more centered and get this sense of direction. And I'm in my head, I see that this is for me, but also it's for the people around me. So the third part of your framework is relationships. Is that fair?
Mhm. Yes, yes, exactly. And what I would recommend people do there is to look at the different relationships they have. So it's like, okay, the people that really mean something to you. So typically so like strong bonds. So it could
Yeah.
be your family members and so on. Are these relationships in balance? And what can you influence there? Again, we can't control everything, but maybe we can have an influence. So is there something you want to do differently there? Because again, as you said, Jeremy, that's what people regret. Like
Mm.
when they're about to die, these are the people they regret that they didn't spend more time with. And what could be a way of doing that without becoming, yeah, changing jobs and all that kind of thing. So it's just small things we can do, um, speak on the phone with them on the way home, or
Hmm.
something like. So that's small things. It shouldn't be like the big changes. It's small steps. So that's one thing. The other one are our so-called deal friends. So these are people that probably boost your ego more than anything else. And maybe we spend a lot of time with them because they make you feel good,
Hmm.
but are they really good for you? Are they really boosting the person you want to be? So maybe they are people at work. It doesn't matter where they are. But maybe we should consider spending less time with some of these people, right?
So I've heard that you can be surrounded by people and you can be really, really comfortable because they like who you are. Maybe they are behaving in a way that makes them feel okay. And the
Yes.
minute you begin to change and say, I'm not going to keep doing this because this is now my new direction. This is where I want to go. They cut you off. They alienate you. They don't like you anymore. You're not one of them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you don't boost them anymore. So you don't boost their egos anymore, and then you're not interesting anymore, or maybe you don't, whatever. And then you can really question, okay, is that
Mm.
someone you want to spend energy on?
Hmm.
Really?
Hmm.
So that should be quite an easy one, right? I think it's more the ones that that maybe suck up to us and make
Mm,
us feel good, although maybe it's in the wrong way, you know?
mm,
And of course, the more senior you become, you have more people like this around you, the yay sayers,
mm,
that want you, you know, they want to rub your back until you're
mhm.
no longer the right person to support. So it's about, and of course, some of them we need, right? But
Yeah.
it's more like questioning, mapping them out, and really look at who do I need here and who do I spend too much time with.
So earlier on, we touched on a toxic work environment and what you can do there. And one option is to change it, of course, and one option is to behave differently, and the other one is to face into the tough bits, but then do something for yourself. What about if you have, and this is not uncommon, but a really toxic home relationship? Maybe you and your spouse or your partner,
Mm.
are just going through a really difficult time. Um,
Yeah.
and you want it to be happy. Sometimes you'll look at it and think, I really want this person. What can I change? And other times you'll realize this is not good for me. What's your advice there? How should somebody in a toxic, really close personal relationship, what should they do?
I think unfortunately you need to look at it deeply, right? You need to look at you can't keep avoiding it, which probably you have been doing. Because you could say that you have what's happening on top of the table and then you have what's happening below the table.
Hmm.
And when you keep avoiding it, you keep putting things underneath the table. So you don't talk about it, but it's all
Hmm.
these emotions. Um, and you both do it. So at some point you need to face that person and talk about it. And then of course I work with conflicts as well. So there's of course a lot of different frameworks around how do you do that.
Hmm.
But I would say there's never a good idea to be, you did this.
Hmm.
It could be more something around when you say it like that you did now, it makes me feel boom, 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 boom. You know, so it's how you phrase it, right? But of course, a toxic relationship, which is very close to you, is going to take up so much of your capacity and it's going to really impact everything, right? Because it's
Hmm.
someone you probably still love and you want it to work, whatever. But you can't avoid it. You need to probably do something about it.
Got it. What else in this relationship sphere? What else do you advise your clients to do when you're working with someone? You know, how do you make them get the most out of? And I say get the most out of. I think also give the most to their relationships. How do they make their relationships amazing?
Spend time with them if you can. You know, and then maybe you can't, of course, be there for everyone at the same time. So then you take one person at a time or something. You know, whether that's just I mean, as if we talk about children, for example, it's, you know, they're not like us, oh, let's have a coffee and we sit like this, you know.
Mhm.
They don't, that's not very good for them. You go for a walk or you play football or, you know, you just do something with them, something
Yeah.
physical typically. And that's how they feel. And no phone, of course, no
Hmm.
phone close by.
Hmm.
Just be there with them. I mean, they don't want your money, you know, they don't want your
Hmm.
presents. They want time with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, let's be rational here. And you can't take a day off and do that, but you can do something. You know, you
Mm.
can spend an evening or a weekend, or, you know, do something.
It reminds me that with my kids, I'll often say to them, "Let's go for a walk in the forest," and it's just around the corner, right? We can be in the forest in 5 minutes time.
Nice.
And being young, modern, digital kids, they kind of go, "Oh, I don't want to go out the forest," and they don't want to go, and it's really hard to get them out the door. But you sort of force them and go, "Come on, we're going for a walk." And then you get into the forest and you do your stuff, and maybe you've been there for 45 minutes or an hour or whatever. And then you say to them, "Okay, time to go home." And they go, "No, I don't want to go home. I love the forest."
Yeah, exactly.
But that time connection that you talk about is so rewarding, isn't it?
It is. And I love what you say there about the forest, because we have a bond with nature. That's just how it is, right? So if you can spend time in nature, that's also grounding you.
Mm.
So great to combine with the kids.
Cool. So your framework, your initial questionnaire that you step through with any new customer that you meet or any new client that you meet is to go through the fundamentals, through the perspectives, and then to look at relationships. And that will help them see where they are and where they want to get to, and touch on how they would get there. And I know there's a lot more in the questionnaire than we're able to go through in a 45-minute chat. So we would ask people to download the questionnaire, and when they go through it, they'll find a lot more information. So if they were to download it and spend half an hour or so just asking the basic questions, they're going to have their own questions. They're going to come to a few realizations and think, oh, that's important to me and I need to make a change. What's the very next thing that they should do once they've started to get some signal out of this questionnaire?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, let's see how much they feel they can do themselves. And I would start with what feels intuitive. Oh, I can't speak. What feels right to start with. Because there's a lot there, right? So start with what feels like the most urgent thing and focus on that area, and start going through that and see how that fits with a goal they have. I mean, or what is it? Why are they here? Why are they looking at this? Is it because of happiness or because of something else? Because this is a good starting point for a lot of different journeys, I would say, just to find yourself. And if they want to work with me, they can of course write to me. And I think we'll have the details here in the podcast. Yeah. So they can, of course, work with me. Whether it's depending on what they're after, really.
Yeah. And I also know you're writing a book, and presumably that book will be a lot deeper than a questionnaire.
Yeah, exactly. So it's much deeper, but it will have some of this in there, and it's going to be cases as well. So what other people have done, how they have worked with this, and other things, and more about my own journey as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Good. And just to wrap things up, I want to just go back to, we've described the sort of the problem space, if you like, what the position people get themselves into. And we also have painted a picture of what it could be like, and, a much, much better, more positive place. I want to just wrap up with a few more thoughts from you around, why go through that? Why go through the effort? Why spend the time? Why bother? What does it feel like? What's the outcome? And the people that you have worked with, and you've presumably seen some transformations, why bother?
Yeah. When you have realized that you are in this empty chase, right, where you keep chasing and it feels good for a second and then you kind of start over again, you get to a point where, what's the point? Why is it? Why does it not give me more happiness or gratitude or gratification or whatever? So if you want to stop that race, this is the thing that you have to kind of go through. And it's not super easy because you have to ask yourself some tough questions. So it's not like, a switch. It will take some time, and you need to go into places that you never thought about, in terms of yourself. So it's a very rewarding thing to do once you start realizing and learning things about yourself. It's actually fun. I mean, when I did my pivot, I had completely lost myself. I didn't know who I was. So that is like, oh yeah, and you remember things and from the past, and so it's a rediscovering journey and a kind of reconnection journey, and that's very fulfilling. So it's fun, actually. It's a bit tough at times, but it's mainly joyful.
Like a workout, it's better when it is a bit tough, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for yourself and everyone else, and maybe that's the biggest thing. You're going to feel the result because you just project something very different. So you're going to get something back which is different. So people will meet you very differently. You kind of step down from your high horses maybe and realize that the world down there is much better. Without, of course, losing your success and everything else. It just becomes a better journey.
Yeah. Eleanor, thank you so much. This has been a really interesting conversation. I've learned a lot by talking to you here. I love the concept of the sort of the very fast Ferrari, but the pit stops and how those short breaks can just help your performance in the next piece. And I really like your framework, which allows people to do a deeper pause, a bit more. And I guess they would do this over a period of a couple of weeks rather than just sort of a half an hour. But even spending that half an hour to go through that question and to work out your your fundamentals and your perspectives and to look at relationships so that it gives you a bit of a path forward to that better place where you are balanced between your happiness on the one hand, but also still managing to get that success, but without success coming at the expense of happiness. So it's been fantastic. Anyone who's watching this who wants to dive into this more, of course, please download the questionnaire first of all. It'll be in the comments below. You'll also find Eleanor's details. So if you want to work with her, I thoroughly recommend that you do. And of course, we'll put details of her book when it's available. But until then, I just want to say thank you so much indeed, Eleanor. Thank you for watching and listening to Build Your Edge, and we'll see you next time.